Also, we managed to collect in donations close to 1 million euros with companies like Eventbrite, Delivery Hero, Airbus. As we were speaking to all these companies, it became really clear that this was a persistent problem and it needed to be packaged into one go-to platform, one end-to-end solution, and this is what we've built. Especially this topic, the topic of climate change, is one that requires us people that work in this field to be incredibly knowledgeable and standing behind every single fact, because otherwise you face the opportunity of greenwashing knowingly or unknowingly. I love LinkedIn. I think it's such a powerful platform, like a few hundred paying customers on our platform. 30% have come through LinkedIn.
Bonjour, and welcome to Mission First, the podcast to get inspired and to learn from successful entrepreneurs who are building a sustainable future for our planet and its people. I am Gilles Toussaint, your host and the founder of GT Impact, a growth and digital marketing agency working only with companies making a positive difference in this world. Growing a company that aims at having a sustainable impact is not easy. That's why I created Mission First. In each episode, I interview one entrepreneur who has a sustainable mission and who has recently gone through the difficult first years successfully. Together, we discuss their challenges and what they have learned on the way. We go into detail with a specific focus on company culture, leadership, financing, growth, and business strategy. That way, you'll learn hands-on tips on how to build a better future and a successful company too. In this episode, discover how Lubomila Jordanova left her corporate job in fintech to start Plan A as a solopreneur. Lubomila is a very engaged and inspiring entrepreneur who has won a lot of awards the last 2 years for her work with Plan A and for her impact as an entrepreneur. Together today, we broke down how she turned a wake-up call in 2016 on a beach in Morocco into a company that generated close to 1 million euros in donations for environmental projects. Next, we analyzed step by step how she pivoted and transformed successfully that donation platform into a software as a service tool currently used by more than 100 companies to reduce the carbon footprint and to become more sustainable. We talked, among others, about how she bootstrapped the company and her first steps as a solopreneur, how a mission to fight climate change and her passion helped her find enthusiastic collaborators and grow a team of dedicated employees, how she learned enough about data science and climate change to be able to start a data-driven company alone without a scientific background, how their communication strategy and LinkedIn helps them to get 500 applications in 2 days for their last job offers, how they evaluate company culture fit during the recruiting process, how she built her following and Plan A's following on LinkedIn all organically, without any paid PR or paid advertising, how they keep their employees motivated through continuous training and by making her company fun to work at. So get ready to learn a lot about data-driven product development, pivoting, and communication and recruiting strategy. Without further ado, get your notepad ready and let's start this episode. Hi, welcome to this podcast, Lubomila.
Hi, Gio. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really happy and super excited to have the chance to interview you today for 2 reasons. First, because you are an inspiring entrepreneur that I've been following the past 2 years now, and I've seen how much you progressed and how much progress you've made with Plan A, from starting it as a solopreneur and growing your team. You won a lot of awards as a CEO, top 100 people to watch in 2018 in Germany, Forbes 30 under 30 2020, and with your company as well, like the BCG Social Impact Challenge winner, TechCrunch Sustainability Award 2019, just to name a few. And you've recently gone through a pivot from B2C to B2B with your service that I'm really looking forward to analyze with you. And second, because I just love the objective of Plan A, which is 100% aligned with the values of this podcast, as you are directly contributing to improving the sustainability of companies of this world. So I can't wait to talk about it. So how are you?
I'm really good. The sun is shining outside, so at least it gives me a peace of mind.
Yes, it's so weird sometimes to have to. We are both in Berlin and we have to do this interview remotely, but that's life. So let's start with some easy questions and some facts. Could you explain us in a few words what Plan A is doing?
Yes. Plan A helps companies calculate, monitor, and reduce their emissions. We have built a software that analyzes their data, builds for them a sustainability action plan based on their worst performing indicators, and also helps them track on month-by-month basis how they're progressing.
Oh, great. So how many employees do you currently have?
We are now at 18 people, all based in Berlin.
So you're already way bigger than I saw on LinkedIn.
A bit.
And can I ask you how much revenue you've made in 2019 and how much you plan to make, this year or the following years?
In 2019, we made a few hundred Ks, and this was thanks to some events that we organized, some consulting work that we did, and also with the fact that in December we launched our software. So this kind of helped us have that revenue in 2019. In 2020, we aim for 1 million at the end of the year.
Okay, wow, it's a good progress. And any funding round yet, or are you bootstrapped?
So far, we've been bootstrapped. I cannot talk about what has been happening over the last few weeks because it's not officially announced. And I would say that at the moment, Plan A is financially stable and we have the support of external sources.
Okay, and you're profitable already?
Well, we have been able to cover our own costs for the last few months, but I would say profitability with the growth of our team is something that is not yet possible. But as we're putting all the resources that we're making back into the business, we're looking to consider profit as a metric that we want to achieve in the next few months.
Okay, so let's start with a more personal question. Which entrepreneur or CEO or family member or friend has inspired you to become an entrepreneur and why?
I am really lucky to have two parents that both are now entrepreneurs. My mom went from a really corporate, really corporate journey for 20 years, then switched to being an entrepreneur. My dad has been an entrepreneur his whole life. And I've seen how much excitement there is in having to shape the strategy of a company, having to define the vision, the goals, the values. So this definitely shaped me a lot, and they have been with me since the beginning of Plan A in terms of support for business ideas and also advice in general. So I think they definitely have been the biggest influencing factor.
There are lots of stuff that I'd like to cover with you today. We might not have the time for everything, so let's see. But to start with, I think you've been through a pivot, and if I got it right, you went through 3 phases, that I will try to summarize. It seems like you started like a donation platform or B2C, like solely dedicated to environmental causes. And then you slowly introduced business to being a platform to connect the new business to these environmental projects and help them to be more sustainable. And recently, it seems like you switched completely to a B2B, like SaaS, software as a service for business to calculate their carbon footprint and give them solutions to be more sustainable. Is it do I summarize that correctly?
Absolutely. Good research. We have followed these 3 steps, and it was definitely not a linear journey. We started off with the donation platform, and the vision there was that we wanted to help as many environmental organizations as possible that we knew through science, through data, were addressing the biggest environmental issues. This was a successful exercise from the perspective that it helped us build a really big community. We have over 100,000 people on a monthly basis on our website, and also we managed to collect in donations close to 1 million euros. But we quickly learned that this was not a model where you can actually make enough money to grow a business, to be able to develop further your business offering because the margins were really low. So we continued with supporting environmental projects, but more from the Plan A perspective. We were not proactively pushing other people, individuals to get to support these projects. At the moment, we do this ourselves on a monthly basis. For the second part, we just kind of, while we were doing all these initiatives for individuals, we started talking to a lot of companies, and it was really obvious that businesses wanted to be part of the solution, but they didn't always knew how to act on it. And we worked with really big names for this topic, with companies like Eventbrite, Delivery Hero, Airbus, and many others. And all of them had so much willingness, but were not necessarily clear on how they can go about it. And as we were talking to them, we also found out that for some of them, calculating their carbon on a company level was not a topic at all, even if the company had thousands of employees. So as we were speaking to all these companies, it became really clear that this was a persistent problem and it needed to be packaged into one go-to platform, one end-to-end solution, and this is what we've built.
Okay. And so when you said that you initially you were using the data to plan where climate change will hit the hardest and like to raise the funding for these like environmental projects, and now how do you use the data that you had collected? How do you use data right now to analyze the sustainability of the companies?
So Plan A, since day one, has been a science and data-driven company. More than half of the team of Plan A is climate data scientists. And why we have decided to go about on addressing the issues that we work with has been influenced by the fact that you need to use these facts and all of this research and all the depth of knowledge that is out there, especially when it comes to driving sustainability in companies, because a lot of initiatives might have a positive impact on a kind of mindset level, but if you want to be effective also for the planet, also for the environment, you need to be focused on using the facts. So how we use it today, so there's a step that maybe was skipped in this analysis of Plan A's journey. It was that the first really scientific product that we built was an algorithm that predicts where and how climate change will hit the hardest. This is essentially over 300,000 data points that we have used related to oceans, forests, wildlife, sustainable living, sustainable energy, and waste management. This was our first work with data that was really powerful, really like strong in terms of us understanding how different issues are going to be shaping in the next 20 to 30 years.
Where were all the data coming from?
Oh, wow. Like we work with over 60 institutes and data coming from them. We work with data from NASA, from Yale, from ETH Zurich, from Eurostat, from German Watch, from the Agriculture Agency. It really is like a World Resource Institute. I can continue going on for so long. And this, why I'm telling you this is because it kind of... it leads to the software itself. The software uses a lot of emission level data on a country-by-country level. We really focus on accuracy, and we work with all of the institutes from the individual European Union countries as well as with some US institutes. And this has obviously added to our data knowledge and data depth. But it kind of, all of these aspects, both the algorithm and also the data related to emissions is what's feeding and will feed into the future, the software itself.
Okay. So now as a CEO, I would like to know how much I saw a great video of your head of data. I think you explained how you use the data, and how much do you understand about sustainable development index, climate change vulnerability as a CEO? all these like complex numbers and data?
I am, standing behind the things that I say. And as a CEO, it's my responsibility to be really in-depth informed and also knowledgeable about these things. Before starting Plan A and before, settling on a name of a company or, coming up with a concept, I spent close to 6 months just educating myself about climate change and essentially learning about all these different ways of measuring climate change, all these different ways in which you can correlate pollution and climate change. And it's part of my day-to-day activity to actually speak to clients and be the go-to person that answers questions related to this. Because you can't build a credibility for your company by just deciding that this is the topic of the day and you're all of a sudden an expert in the field. Especially this topic, the topic of climate change, is one that requires us people that work in this field to be incredibly knowledgeable and standing behind every single fact, because otherwise you face the opportunity of greenwashing knowingly or unknowingly. So yeah, I would consider myself quite knowledgeable, and it is fed on daily basis. The only thing I read about is climate change.
Okay, and like during the first 6 months where you like did this kind of accelerated master in climate change science, where have you learned all of these things?
So there was a few reliable sources that I spend a lot of time with. One was the World Resource Institute. For anyone that doesn't know the website, please go. This is gold mine. It's phenomenal in terms of data, in terms of incredible content. The second thing that really gave me an opportunity to feel comfortable with talking about climate change was actually reading a lot of books. And these were not only books that are kind of mainstream related to climate change, coming from well-known journalists, but also they were kind of going into a bit more depth in terms of like sustainability that would be taught in classes. I did a few online courses as well from reputable US universities on Coursera and other platforms such as edX is one that I definitely would recommend as well. And the final thing that I did, which was honestly like a massive blessing from my previous education, was that I reached out to some of the people that were working on the topic in my university in London. I studied in London School of Economics, and LSE has good work on climate change and also human rights and kind of equality, inequality, women's issues. And the more you dig into climate change, the more you find out that all of these issues are somehow connected. The poorest places on this planet are also the ones that have the least regard for nature, and also are the ones that have a little understanding of the value of nature. It also goes the other way around. The places with a lot of resources actually outsource their consumption in other places, or the resources for their consumption in other places, so that they don't touch their own environment. So yeah, I used a lot of the resources that are out there online and also a lot of books.
Okay, that's very, very impressive. So you just said you studied business, finance, and economics, and you started to work in London for a fintech company, I think, until March 2016, and then you launched Plan A in 2017, 1 year later. So one of my questions was what happened between. Apparently you took 6 months to really dig into climate change science. Was there something else in between, and was there any key moment, like wake-up call to start with this particular idea of Plan A? How did that happen?
So one thing happened in particular in the beginning of my non-fintech journey was that I started exploring building a company with a German acquaintance, I would say, because we didn't know each other well before, spending 4 to 5 months on testing if it's going to work out. It was a productivity tool similar from today's perspective to Asana. For, I would say, reasons of different work style, we decided that it was not good to pursue working together. And another thing that happened in the meantime that also was a triggering point for me to also not want to continue with this project was a trip to Morocco. I have spoken a lot of times about this visit because it really opened my mind and kind of it shocked me a lot. I went to Morocco on a surfing trip, and this was essentially nothing I would have assumed out of the ordinary. But it turned out that the places that were most famous for surfing were also the ones that were most polluted. On the first day of the trip, we ended up on a beach with my friends, and this beach was covered in plastic. I wasn't allowed in the water because I wasn't enough good for the size of the waves to be able to stay in the water. So I was just like reading my book, and then I kind of stood up and I found myself in this bin. You know, it felt like I was sitting in the middle of a bin. And for the next few hours, I ended up just cleaning up the beach, collected a lot of shoes, a lot of construction site material, a lot of plastic bottles that were unfortunately burned, which emits even more emissions than just normal plastic bottles. And after this, I ended up just kind of having a different sense of being. I went back to London where I was living in that particular point, and I all of a sudden started noticing how dirty London was, how it was a bit smelly as well. And this was the moment when I also was starting to have doubts about my collaboration with this guy and also about this project, and ended up just reading a lot. And at some point I told him that I don't want to pursue the project together, and I wanted to focus on working on Plan A. And it kind of, it was so weird because I had this sense of urgency in me that was, people asked me a lot like, oh, but kind of didn't you have like a concern that you're going to be working without money and so on? I honestly didn't think about that. And it was not because I had thousands of like dollars sitting on a bank account that, were a luxury of being able to not think about it. It was more, I was so driven by the idea, and I just ended up kind of, continuing for a few months before I actually started thinking about finding resources.
So is that how most of the people reacted around you when you launched that idea? Because I stalked you a bit on Facebook, LinkedIn, and I saw in June 2017 on Facebook, even though we're not friends, but I think it's a public post, you said some months ago I shared with you my plan to start working full-time for sloth, bees, and seals. Long story short, Plan A is a first donation platform solely dedicated to environmental causes, and so on. And so you announced the idea of Plan A. Like, how does most of the people around you react?
Well, keep in mind that in 2017, there was no Fridays for Future, there was no Luisa Neubauer, Greta Thunberg, all these heroes that we have at the moment that drive a lot the agenda and the discussion about climate change. There was barely any discussion about this. And I must say I was living in London at that particular time. My friends were really supportive, but always with a bit of a question mark. Like, I didn't get anyone saying like, oh, wow, like this is a bit dumb. Why would you give up your well-paid job to work for something that is for hippies? And, because I've gotten this response as well. But it took some time for people to actually accept that I'm not having like a random 6 months, crisis or something. And there was a bit of a resistance for like a super big excitement. It was not like I was announcing that I'm joining the board of directors of like a massive corporate. But it was definitely like, I got a lot of support from my ecosystem. People gave me a lot of their time.
How did that happen? So like, if we want to take it like step by step, so because I think I'd like to talk also a bit, about the first like product development phase, the why of your company, and how this has helped you to move that project forward. But if you focus on the very beginning and your decision, I think you decide to go solo. So and you've bootstrapped everything until now, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you, like, first of all, why, for which reason did you decide to be a sole founder?
I didn't decide it. It just happened. It was honestly so difficult to find people that wanted to talk about climate change in that particular moment in London. People were always asking me about, like, what is the business model, but donation platform, you're never going to make money. Do you want to be poor for the rest of your life? Like that kind of stuff. And it really was quite of a convincing process for me to explain sometimes to people that this is what I wanted to do. I've always been really passionate about wildlife, for example. Like, I'm obsessed with animals. Like, you have no idea how obsessed I am with animals. I find them fascinating. And for this first step, I got a lot of support from my community in terms of like getting them to help me with social media, sales, like maybe setting up some like a website.
So how do you, sorry to cut you off, how do you proceed on that phase? I would like to really put myself in your shoes as as a founder. You have an idea, you have like did you already have like a clear like picture of like this donation platform from the beginning on?
No. Okay. So what I did as a first step, and I encourage anyone that is, willing to understand this passion that they have and wants to apply it to the real world, to do that as well. What I did was, first of all, I built a model that was correlating the worst environmental issues as per the UN data, because this is publicly available online, versus funding. So there's something, there's like the climate funding policy and also the climate funding resources that you can find online that basically explain how public and private sources are being dedicated to environmental issues. And it's literally broken down up to the level of a country. And what I did was I tried to correlate, I did correlate the biggest environmental issues and basically the places where they were based and the financial support that these environmental issues were getting. Sadly, what I found out was that there was no positive correlation. So essentially, the biggest environmental issues were, unfortunately, the ones that were not promoting themselves as such. These places where these issues were faced didn't have the financial means to be, always at the forefront and at the COP meetings and so on. This was the first step. And then the second step was that I did a 300-person survey that was with people from different companies, people from different backgrounds and, NGO, government, just friends of mine, just to understand what was their mindset with regards to climate change. Like, what were they thinking about the issues? Did they feel like they had some personal responsibility within the whole topic? Were they doing anything about it? And what was the way they were supporting, for example, causes? And this was also another kind of shocking experience because it turned out that a lot of people were acting on an emotional level when it came to supporting environmental causes, which is totally normal. But the second that really strong, I was honestly really shocked. Like, people didn't even want to talk about climate change because the only thing that they knew about climate change was essentially how traumatic any image that you see online is, how traumatic the statistics are. So they just wanted to shy away from any of these discussions. So these were the first two steps. I was by myself. I was working from home. I didn't travel anywhere for 6 months.
Still in London?
Yeah. Okay. I basically because London is obviously an expensive place. I still had some savings from my banking times and also from my previous job in fintech. So I was able to get by in terms of eating and, my parents also supported me for 6 months in terms of paying my rent, which was really nice of them. Mm-hmm. So I had the space and time to think. And I just went on to do it by myself because I couldn't find anyone to talk to even about this topic. And
what happened after this? Sorry, what happens after the survey? So you got your correlation between like the impact of climate change and the financial situation these countries or these places have, and this survey about like people being shocked or not willing to talk about climate change because of the negative, let's say, what communication or emotions it gives to people. What do you do next? What are the next steps until you get the first like donation platform online?
Mm-hmm. What happened was I took the survey results as a starting point for building a website. And this is one lesson that I learned, that you should use the wonderful platforms that are out there that give you templates for building a website, because I ended up not doing that. I ended up putting all my savings into getting a company to build a website, and I basically ended up being totally overpriced, like overcharged. And this was one lesson learned from this whole experience. But I ended up building basically a website that would capture the attention of people on one cause each month. So the idea was that there was one cause 1 month, one cause 1 month kind of setup, where each month we would focus on one issue and we would support between 1 and 4 organizations. And the issues were one after the other. For example, we first started with planting trees. The second one was about wildlife. The one after was about the rivers of Europe. The one after was about lemurs in Madagascar. And it really was like an amazing effort, because basically and this is the moment when actually it's a we. So maybe I'm skipping a few steps. At that point when we launched, I was actually not by myself anymore. When I made this announcement in June, Nathan joined me and moved from Paris to Berlin.
Your CMO, isn't it?
He's our CMO, yeah. Yes. He's the man of words.
How did you guys meet? Or how did you find him?
Through this announcement on social media. I made an announcement. This post became absolutely viral. Like, this was at the times when people still used Facebook all the time.
The announcements I just read before, like about that you were going to work for bees and seals.
Exactly. Exactly, yeah. So I made this announcement and people started tagging other people, saying like, hey, you should chat to this person, you should chat to this person. And one of my best friends from LSE times, from my university times, tagged Nathan. And I had met Nathan in Paris in like a few months back for the first time at a festival. And we never chatted afterwards. So obviously Plan A was a good opportunity to talk again.
Okay, and how do you convince him to join, especially like at that time you are not paying? Are you paying him already, or how do you do? Because if you are still a solo founder, is he a co-founder, or is he how do you do?
So what I skipped basically from the moment when I was doing this research and the survey was the fact that there was a few months which I literally spent on doing a UX course, doing an online sustainability course, doing courses on actually climate data. And these were a few months when I was educating myself, and I really spent a lot of time in kind of investing in myself, investing in the opportunity to build something that was coming out not only passion, but also knowledge. And when I felt comfortable, when there was a website, when there was something that was, being more tangible, I ended up building kind of more confidence in communicating it as well. And this is where this announcement came. This is how Nathan came in as well. And Nathan was volunteering for the first few months. And when he moved to Berlin, I started paying him because I managed to get some money through a grant program that was existing in Germany. In the meantime, I also moved to Germany, which is another step that is really important, because I don't think this ecosystem has been so helpful for us to establish ourselves. And I made a lot of radical decisions. So when I decided to set up Plan A, I set up Plan A as a German GmbH. I decided to move from London after living for 10 years in the UK. I broke up with my boyfriend. I stopped working with this guy. So there was a lot of things that happened one after the other. And
how have you financed all of that, if I may ask? Like, for example, GmbH is not cheap, and like in paying Nathan, for example, I'm asking that for the people who want to go solo there. What was the hardest for you on that side? Like, especially financially, how do you manage to do that? And at that time, why do you take the decision to pay Nathan and not to, include him as a co-founder and start like having sharing equity shares with him?
So, starting from your first question, there's always been like two challenges in terms of building Plan A. One challenge in the beginning. Now we kind of have learned how to pass through this. The first challenge has been that, as I mentioned, in London, I had a difficulty finding people to bounce off ideas with. And as a solo entrepreneur, I think one of the most important aspects is to surround yourself with people that can feed you with data, context, ideas, feedback. And I didn't have this. I only had this fairly long into the journey, a few months into the journey. The second issue is financing. I'm still, I'm still kind of concerned about how financing happens for green tech companies. And this is something that is definitely the problem of a lot of entrepreneurs within the impact and also green tech field. And I think it's an issue that we need to speak on an industry level a lot about, because there's definitely less opportunities for companies that are built with purpose embedded into, the shareholder agreement even. What I ended up doing for the GmbH was first that we got a grant. The second thing was that I got an angel on board. So Plan A has had since the beginning a really supportive angel investor from London that has been with us, also supporting us a few times, not only once. And this has been really helpful because, GmbH is 25,000 euros, being also paying the fees that are associated with this. They're definitely less than they were 2 years ago. Slowly but surely, the German startup ecosystem is influencing changes on a legislative level. And I decided, there was never a discussion with Nathan about him becoming a co-founder. In the beginning, it felt like basically he needed maybe some time to decide if he's committing, because in the beginning he was working from Paris. And I obviously was always telling him that, if this is something he's going to commit to, he would have to move, because I'm not the kind of entrepreneur that is like remote first. I just have a different mentality. Maybe it's a bit of an old school, but like I love spending time with my team. I love like us doing stuff, together that have nothing to do with work, like just having, fun and chatting and, being also closer to one another than simply just co-workers. So I think it was just a kind of organically how it happened. It was not that I didn't want to have him as a co-founder. I think that if there's any co-founder that I've had, this is definitely Nathan, because he's been with me since the first launch of the first thing, of the first product that Plan A has ever had. So, we even were joking a few months ago, and I was telling him that he just needs to start calling himself a co-founder, because it's not, he has equity in the company. It's not like, he's been there for all of it. So it's, if it's the title that is missing, he should have it. It's just that we never spoke about this, to be honest.
And how much has your you are talking about this viral post, for example, and of course there are always some people when you decide to follow your passion, it's not like, you're not like taking a normal 8 to 5 job. There is always a lot of people who are telling you, are you crazy? But on the other side, on my side, I also felt that there are a lot of people who just follow you. And especially on social media, sometimes I feel like it's very easy for the people to just identify themselves to you and to also share and tag others, and managing to attract people like Nathan without voluntary at the beginning, without being able to pay them, is something that I think sometimes happen just because you are so passionate. So what's your experience with how much your mission and how much your engagement has helped you to get people to work with you without, when you didn't have the finance to pay them?
Yeah. First of all, thank you. This is really kind thing to say. And I really appreciate it in an incredibly humble manner, because for me, what I do is not only my mission, it's a responsibility that I carry. And I carry this responsibility on all the levels that I have in my life. I've totally changed my life since I've started working on Plan A, in the way that I live, in the way that I eat, in the way that I, buy stuff. And I'm really deeply embedded into what I'm doing. And it is something that makes me feel so happy, because I see the results. I see the fact that, we're reducing by 15% the emissions of the companies we have on our platform. And for example, and it really is something that I think comes out, particularly for this topic. It's really easy to see when someone is not true to the cause. There's a lot of kind of copycats, if I could call it, that are coming up on the market, not necessarily only of Plan A, of other products. And you just literally need to spend 5 minutes on a few internet pages to figure out that this is not a project where people are so deeply passionate about what they're doing. And I think what makes my messaging resonate with a lot of people is the fact that I have behind, alongside of me, incredible team that has given up a lot of good opportunities that are incredibly well paid, and just kind of opportunities where they could have grown into a corporate environment and so on, to be part of something that is truly changing people's mindsets. And this really it shows, it really takes very little of any discussion you have with anyone on the team, with me, or the places where I go to speak at. You can ask me about science, you can ask me about wildlife, you can ask me about Plan A, you can ask me about anything, and I would be able to tell you something that is kind of fact-driven and is data-driven. And I spend time on educating myself to make sure that I can stand behind this big, honorable cause. Like, I feel incredibly honored to be able to work on this and to have been given recognition about the fact that I'm working on this. So I honestly take this in the most responsible way. This for me is not a business. This for me is a responsibility. It is a mission. And I give my all on daily basis. And yeah, it really is something that I've also given up a lot to be able to do, but I'm so honored. Honored is the absolute right word to be able to do that.
Yeah, I can hear that. So you are building this donation-based platform for these projects. Nathan is with you. You have your website online. How do the first months go, and what are the next hires that you make for your team?
So the next hire for the team was our head of design and our head of data. Plan A is a company that since day one has been standing out with these two aspects. So the holy trinity of content, data, and design is kind of what drives Plan A. We've always looked cool. This is what really is important for us, because we know that this has to become a mainstream topic, and we need to speak to all generations and kind of do it in the most modern ways. The data aspect is kind of at the core of every single decision we make in the company.
So before before that head of data, like were you like in charge of like using the data in like in the platform?
There was the platform for the donations didn't use data beyond what's available in research online. So
Okay.
there was no data-driven decision making about donations at that point.
It was your research. You had like evaluated where the needs were, and that's what you used to start the donation platform.
Exactly, absolutely. And it was like not as sophisticated. You know, when you take someone that is coming from a climate data science perspective, I can only, be quiet and follow, right? My research was just, a pinch of salt in comparison to the sea of salt that Vamsi has been able to bring to the table.
Okay, so head of design, head of data, and how, like from there, what are the big milestones that you have until you like the point where you are now?
So 1 million in donations is a milestone for me. It's something that is really incredible, and I'm so happy that we've been able to support some amazing organizations that we're still in touch with. Another milestone has been certainly the expansion of the team. I think I have the most phenomenal people on the team, and we're constantly hiring. Like we're now hiring for research, for design, for tech, for business, also for finance. So there's a lot going on at the moment in terms of hiring. Another milestone has been us getting some of our biggest clients in the beginning, because obviously until you build credibility, and this is really, I think, and I hope it's useful also for people listening that are building their own businesses at the moment, it's really powerful to use some, well-established brands to establish yourself as a company. This is no magic trick. This is no shocking piece of information, I'm sure, for anyone. But some companies forget this, that there's so much opportunity and options out there that in order for you to be able to stand out, you need to tick some kind of stipulate boxes that include this one.
How do you decide to go from the donation-based platform to start to include business in that platform?
So our breakthrough in terms of working with companies happened when we decided to organize a water festival. The water festival was in recognition of the Water Day, and essentially we organized literally a festival, a 7-day worth of events happening in Berlin in different locations with different company partners. And this is where we started actually understanding that to get a company like Quartiermeister, which is a really cool beer brand in Berlin, or a company like Patagonia to work with you, you need to show that you're willing to scale something. You need to show that, you can put together a big event that is even more than one event. For this particular festival, we had over 1,000 attendees within these 7 days, which was phenomenal because we were just like a baby company in a few months old. And with all the forces of our design data team and also marketing, we were able to put together like a really incredible, I would say, week. This was the first time we started speaking to a lot of companies, and we were super excited because we were seeing how positive they were. They gave us a lot of free things. Patagonia didn't charge us for the showing their movie. They basically gave us, for the movie night that we organized, kind of the rights to use the movie. And this was from the LA production company. Quartiermeister gave us like hundreds of free beers. Viva Con Agua gave us a lot of free water. We also had Osmos, which is an amazing company that makes really cool fizzy and not fizzy drinks made out of apples from their own farm that they have in Germany. So there was kind of a mixed bag of companies, and we saw that they actually cared and they wanted to do stuff like that. So we decided to twist the message and basically to start speaking to them and understand, we've been doing this for individuals, but what do you think about you giving money to environmental causes? And this is where it started clicking, and we started getting some pretty amazing names like Eventbrite, for example, working with us and donating money to environmental causes and supporting local and NGOs. And one thing leads to the other. When you have these events and these moments of discussions with these big companies, you also end up speaking to them about their general concern when it comes to sustainability. And a lot of them expressed the same kind of concern. They said, yeah, we have some policies, yeah, we have some ideas, but we don't necessarily have a clear strategy on how we're going to do this. And this was the starting point of us starting to think, okay, but we need to optimize this and package this up into one product. And this is where we are today.
Okay, that's fantastic to hear. So the 1 million euro at the time was not only by private persons, that was like with the companies were already starting to invest, to donate.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Wow. So what was on that phase as a CEO yourself? What was the hardest part in these like decisions? What have you learned during that time?
I've had constantly the wish to do more. This is something that is typical for anyone that has this sense of urgency. And obviously the beauty of climate change, especially if you're informed about it, is that you have an additional level of sense of urgency. I've learned to start being satisfied with results, which obviously is not coming easy to me. I'm a massive perfectionist and also someone that like constantly make lists of things that I need to do. And, I'm really, I also work on weekends. I know it's not healthy, but like, it's just these things that maybe are not the most balanced way of dividing personal and professional life. So I am working hard on building some sort of a balance between the two. It's not coming easy to me. It's definitely been a massive challenge, and I've canceled so many things just for plan A, and it's totally fine. I mean, I didn't go to some weddings of friends of mine. I didn't go on ski trips and so on. And skiing is my biggest passion after climate change and wildlife. What has been the biggest challenge is to learn to delegate, to learn to spread my time between personal and professional, and also to be more satisfied with the achieved.
Talking about recruiting, I was really impressed on one of your last posts on LinkedIn when you said you posted 2 job applications and you asked people to stop applying because you had 500 applications in 4 days. How did that happen?
Yeah. Oh my God, it just was phenomenal. So basically we posted 2 job offers, or 2 job openings. One was a research analyst. So this is someone with climate data science background. And this was one of the positions. And then the second position was WordPress developer. We literally, I posted it on a Friday, and then I think when I made this post, it was like the Tuesday or something, even in the morning. We already had 400 applications for the position of research analyst, and then another 100 for the WordPress developer.
Which channel did you use? Do you mean only on LinkedIn after posting it on LinkedIn, or did you also use other channels?
No. We use also Indeed.com, Work in Startups, Berlin Startup Jobs, and these 4 channels.
Okay, so which are most of them are paying channels.
Well, Work in Startups, you can also not pay, and then Indeed, you can also not pay.
But you used the paid one.
I think we paid only for LinkedIn because LinkedIn doesn't allow you to post without paying. So. Okay. And obviously, it's a really nice centralized channel. I love LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you had 500 applications in 4 days. Was it the first time this happened? Does something happen compared to the past that this happened this time, or that this was so successful this time? When was the last time you had posted a job, and how many applications did you have?
So we get on average on weekly basis between 30 to 50 speculative applications. These are people that just say, hey, I love Plan A. Do you have a job? And we also get quite a few volunteer applications. So we're not new to the whole, I'm going to apply for a job without knowing that there's a job set up. We definitely were overwhelmed in a positive way by this last 2 jobs that we posted, because it's been a few months since we posted a job, and a lot of things happened with Plan A since. I think the message now resonates with even more people because it's really clear how the business works. It's really clear how we're making money. It's really clear what kind of skill sets are needed. So it kind of, I think this helps a lot to get this kind of a response. But we're not new to having people want to work with us. And I think it's just because of the positive and kind of amazingly dedicated attitude that we have to our mission.
Yeah, so the mission is a strong incentive for people in general.
Absolutely. Yeah. And really purposeful people come to us, and we're really strict with who comes in the company. We do quite a lot of interviews before you can enter Plan A.
That's a perfect jump. I wanted to talk about that next. So what's your strategy for recruiting in terms of interview? Like, for example, how do you check for culture and team fit? And how do you evaluate the skills, for example, when talking about like developers, for example?
So the first thing that we look for is how sustainable the person is that is joining. If they have done any work on becoming more sustainable themselves. And it always is really cute because you can see some people being strategic at interviews. They immediately, as they sit down, they put their reusable bottle of water and on the table. So, I mean, for some it comes natural just because they do it all the time. This is one of the first things that we do, and maybe it doesn't seem supernatural because obviously if you come as a developer, you should be mostly concerned with the skills that you can bring to the table. But because we don't want to associate ourselves with any greenwashing activities, we also don't want anyone to join the company and then start somehow bringing a spirit that is not aligned to how we think about issues. It is really important for us to check this first. The second, and how we check for culture as a second step, is certainly on getting every single person to speak to everyone on the team. Of course, this is a lot of people to digest because now we're quite a lot. But it's really important because if you're going to be entering a journey that is going to last years or decades, you really need to have the same kind of positive, dedicated attitude that everyone has on the team. And then the final thing that we do is kind of a more, I would say, unique aspect again to Plan A, is we invite these people to come to a Plan A event. We have between 3 to 4 events when we are allowed, because obviously now in COVID times we do them online. We invite them to come to a Plan A event. These events normally gather around 100 to 200 people. But this is really an environment where you can see if this person kind of aligns with the messaging, aligns with the language of Plan A. And if they come passionate after the event and say, wow, this was phenomenal, this is really an incredible event, which is actually how we got one of our employees, Tom, to join the company. He started volunteering after one event, and the rest is history. He basically volunteered for a few months, and then I offered him a full-time position because he was just doing such an incredible job, and he's such a smart and diligent guy. And if all of this actually works out well, you end up getting the job. But it still is, some talking that needs to happen in between.
Oh, so that's a very long interview process. And we're talking about how you evaluate the skills. Where does it come into that whole process? And how do you do it?
In the second step. In the second step, we basically, after we've evaluated your sustainability commitment level, we then check your skills. We always do some tests and also give exercises. But the process is really short. Like, we don't want to waste anyone's time. We basically take between 1 to 2 weeks from start to finish to decide if someone should join the team or not.
Including with the event?
Yeah. Just because we host so many events, it really is like easy. There's between 3 to 4 events. We either have every single week one event, or we have one every 2 weeks. So there's always opportunities.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of recruitment, what has been the hardest for you so far?
So in terms of topics, we've always been spoiled by incredible people coming to Plan A. I cannot speak highly enough of the amazing skill set we have on the team, but also dedication to sustainability. I must say that a trick for us that has really worked is we have recruited a lot of people from the volunteering pool because when you see someone that is passionate about sustainability, that is even willing to dedicate their time without asking you for money, and without asking you for, they just want to contribute. And they can do it like for 1 hour or 2 hours, but you see the true passion. We really don't, waste time to get these people on board. So I would say a challenge maybe has been to kind of make sure that we don't miss on the given opportunities that we have, because there really is a lot that we need to digest on literally weekly basis.
And have you started already hiring indirect employees right now? An HR or office manager right now?
Office managers. This is a joke for COVID times.
Okay.
HR, we are going to be hiring someone at the end of the summer. For the moment, I can manage myself. I am doing this with the help of other people on the team as well. So it's okay. But after we pass the 25-person mark, then I'm going to get someone to help as well, because I have seen how important HR is. And definitely we're getting someone, but that's for Q3, the beginning.
Q3. And I saw on these 2 job ads, I've looked at the benefits that you offer, and I was positively surprised to see that you offer an access to masterclass. How did you come up with that idea?
My team is really curious. So the people constantly give feedback, and we have a really open culture where you literally, if you are unhappy with something, you are kind of encouraged to speak about it and clear up the issue immediately, because we just don't want to leave any bad energy lying around. So when it comes to the level of curiosity, what I always ask at feedback sessions, which we do fairly often in a formal and informal level, was that every single person on the team wanted to further educate themselves. And sometimes it's about project management. Sometimes it's about acquiring skills that are totally unrelated to your topic. For example, Scarlett, that is our head of design, is now doing a course related to lightning and really topics that could be and could not be immediately applied to the activities of Plan A. And I found masterclasses content really powerful. Not only that it comes from people that are influential in their particular topics, like famous Italian chefs, and also people like Natalie Portman teaching you acting, and also people from the FBI teaching you on negotiating.
That one is amazing.
But it's incredible, isn't it? Yeah. I was so happy to watch it. Chris Voss is such a powerful man. He really, I can imagine, I can feel how the moment when he was sitting in front of someone negotiating hostages, and you just do whatever he says. He just feels like such a powerful influence.
Have you read his book?
I started it, but I haven't finished it yet. I literally started it a few days ago. So you're catching me at the point of time when I can give feedback maybe in a week, but not today. Did you like it?
I loved it. That's like, I mean, I loved the book. It was really like a Bible for me. It helped me a lot to negotiate for like in a lot of various situations. So I really liked it. And I really like that he's a storyteller. So like, because almost every chapter starts with a story about his FBI negotiation, like stories. So it really, it's a page turner, I think.
Oh wow! Okay, that makes me even more exciting about Easter weekend. Fantastic, yeah. So I would say masterclass for me was, you said it. It's just if there is an equivalent of page turner on a masterclass level, I felt like from the trailers that I watched and also from the trial that I did on the platform, I was just like, my team is going to love this. So I just gave them all access to the platform. And it's really funny because you can see how the different interests are also like visible in terms of the discussions we've had, because some people have went on to learning about fashion, other people went on learning about creativity. I have been doing the cooking course. And there's some other people doing like the other one that is by the founder of Spanx. So it's really cool.
How you said that the people of your team really like to learn. At ResearchGate, where I used to work, for example, we had some ad academy where we would like every week we would have internal meetings where somebody would present like something about advertising or marketing, and we had amazing people from everywhere doing that. So we would learn a lot. Have you set up something similar to Plan A to have people to learn, between themselves?
Yeah, it's funny you asked that because we literally came out a few weeks ago from BCG Social Impact competition win. What this competition gave us as an opportunity was for 2 months to work with 10 BCG and BCG Digital Ventures employees, which was a phenomenal opportunity. They basically wanted to set us up for scale, set us up for becoming a huge company.
So these employees are for you? They work with you?
Yeah. For 2 months. For 2 months, we had 10 full-time employees and 2 that were not full-time, helping us on building Plan A and literally like defining our hiring strategy, defining how we're going to do sales, how we're going to do product, and just phenomenal. Like honestly, such support. I cannot speak highly enough of the phenomenal team that not only was presented to us within these like 12 people, but also like just the amazing people that BCG and BCGDV are. And what they introduced to Plan A, which was kind of a 3-month process that now is kind of being kept, is sessions where everyone gets to do kind of a 1-hour learning. And it's basically, it really doesn't have anything to do with work. It should have to do with what you're good at. For example, I did a course on pitching and public speaking. Someone else on the team did a course on bread making. Someone else did a course on event organizing. Another person did a course on building decision-making processes into your way of working. So really like a different spectrum of knowledge. So yeah, we do that, and we do it in a fun manner. It's not only about work, but it's also about things that you're passionate about.
That's great, and that's weekly.
Yes.
Okay, great. I saw when I was like Googling your name on the second page of Google, what came up was your personal Spotify playlist. And then I saw on your website, on Plan A website, that you have a link to Spotify, and you have a list of 23 Spotify playlists named after some funny, climate or animal topics. What's the strategy behind that?
We're a super funny company, We're like, we just come up with ideas and we do stuff. Like I can list you so many things that we have taken off the ground and they're still alive. And they're just contributing to this colorfulness of the company that makes me so, so happy and proud that we've built what we've built. The Spotify playlist came out as an initiative of Nathan. Nathan is someone that not only can play 5 instruments, musical instruments, but also speaks 5 languages, is also lived in places like Brazil, and also has started doing some DJing on the side, like obviously just bought, basically, he got as a gift from friends of his some equipment. So he's been doing this only at parties for us, not for external people. So Nathan decided that it's really, music is really important. Music should be part of Plan A's culture. And what every single person on the team is asked when they join the team is to create their playlist. It doesn't need to be related to their own nationality, but it's more like share what music you're passionate about. My playlist is about boogie. I love music that gets you dancing. We have someone that is from South Africa on the team. He created an African playlist. We have a massive jazz fan on the team, so he created a jazz playlist. So really like kind of showing the culture of Plan A and adding another notch of fun. That is basically what this company is about, because we're really positive and happy people. So it comes out from many, many places.
So what would you say, what would you tell to, like, it's really funny to hear that from a CEO, because I hear so many CEOs focus so much on ROI and, you know, so because here, what would you say these playlists bring to your company?
Return on investment is, in this particular playlist, the fact that I have never had a single day of doubt in my team. We've gone through a lot of changes. We've gone through a lot of growth. We've gone through a lot of popularity for the company. But the true soul of the company and this strength of belief in the purpose and alignment to this mission has never gone anywhere away from where it is. Yes, we're a company driven by a business model, but we also are first and foremost a company that is driven by a responsibility to the planet. So the return on investment of this playlist is that I have a team that is happy, a team that is incredibly dedicated. And when they're creating each one of them a playlist, they know that they, part of something that also understands that a human being is not only their work, not only the emails that they send, not only the results that they show in terms of sales and, growth, but they're also people that have a heart and a soul that is fed by, being recognized for these different aspects to them that are not related to return on investment in the monetary shape and form.
That's great to hear. It's like when we say that we need to have new KPIs to evaluate, climate change, or like, let's say, the monetary value of the countries in general, and not only like economics KPI. So that's great to hear that from a CEO. Talking about your personal branding and LinkedIn, I see you have like 4,530 followers on your personal page and 1,630 on Plan A. And I think that's pretty good. And especially as a company page, when I checked this week, Plan A was at 1,700, like almost 1,800. So like, it was 200 more followers in a few days. That's really impressive for me. So how much do you think, like, how have you managed personal branding versus like company branding, and how much has LinkedIn, what's your strategy on LinkedIn with that?
So behind Plan A, there's never been PR, there's never been paid marketing. We actually have grown organic fully, absolutely, since day one. And I think we go back to where we started, which is essentially this like truth and dedication to the cause that we have. People can read through the lines, read between the lines really well. I don't think it takes a lot to recognize that we are true, that we're not doing any greenwashing, that we're not talking about things that we don't understand, that we really deeply care. And how I've built this whole following has happened. Honestly, I don't even know how it happened. I haven't done any effort to get all these people to follow me. I get tens of thousands, literally, it's ridiculous. Like so many requests on LinkedIn for connections. And it's really nice because I think people are starting to hear a lot more, not only in Europe, but also in the US about Plan A. So I just share the stuff that I know. I just share things that I think would be useful for people, and people resonate with this because I'm not telling like stories of like, hey, look at me, I'm like, doing this and so on. And the same happens for events. Like I when I go to speak, one of the main reasons why people tell me that they've decided to invite me is because I'm incredibly practical and really open and straightforward in terms of the things that I speak about. I don't sugarcoat things. And also I try to be as clear as possible in my messaging so that people that are not necessarily informed about climate change would be able to connect themselves with the issues. So this is why people invite me to speak at their events, and I really I'm super happy and honored to be able to join these discussions because it gives an opportunity to speak about Plan A. In terms of Plan A, LinkedIn actually is already over 1,800. We get a lot of followers over the last few months, I think, because it's, LinkedIn is the platform where you speak about business activities, and it's just happening. Like, it's not something we're pushing in any way. There's no ads, there's no, PR agency.
Could you have an idea of how many clients you are getting from LinkedIn that, called that you didn't know and just reach out to you via LinkedIn? Because I saw on your, especially on LinkedIn, I saw on your about section on LinkedIn, you are saying, okay, message me if you are interested into doing business with us.
I get a lot of personal messages that are essentially coming from people that have either recently learned about Plan A's activities or have known me from before and are now ready to speak about sustainability because their company is also ready to speak about this. So I would say probably like I get to 20 to 30 on daily basis. It's quite a lot.
Wow.
That just come to asking like, what can we do? Can we speak? Can we chat? And so on. And it's pretty awesome. In terms of how many clients we have gotten from this, I think now we have like a few hundred paying customers on our platform. I would say that like 30% have come through LinkedIn. And
that's a
this
high
is
number.
kind of, I love LinkedIn. I think it's such a powerful platform because people use it to speak about useful stuff. Well, if they know what they're talking about, but like, it's really powerful, I think, as a platform. And it's really, I think, engaging because now we need like a lot of knowledge sharing in more communities. And I think it's really powerful to have this platform and kind of be connected to it in a good way. And I'm so happy that we're getting recognized there.
That's amazing to hear. I also believe that like LinkedIn is really organic. The organic reach right now is just awesome. So that's great to hear to your confirmation about that. And that's great that you mentioned the fact that you're speaking a lot of events. My last question before the bonus questions would be first to give you some references of our context. You said as well that like sustainability is a topic that can move people easily, and you are apparently very passionate about wildlife. And I have a personal question about that and totally understand what you mean because I'm myself super passionate about wild animals. I lived one of the most beautiful and probably like one of the saddest experiences of my life at the same time when I went to Sumatra in Indonesia in 2013. And to be honest, I remember like crying twice. Like I wanted to see the wild orangutans in the rainforest, so not in some kind of sanctuary, at the border of the forest, but really into the wild. So I spent 2 days traveling in like horrible conditions before arriving in the middle of nowhere, and we went for a 3-day hike to search for these orangutans, and we had a very good guide. We spotted 23 of them, from small babies to the big male, and sometimes close to 2 meters away from me. And one time I saw that beautiful mom once with her baby, who stopped for a few seconds and just looked at me in the eyes for a few seconds. And these monkeys can be so expressive. And I remember having tears of joy at that time running on my cheeks because of the chance I had to see them. But also at the same time, just right after, I just realized that my children won't probably have the chance to see them in that environment, because, I went through miles and miles of palm oil plantations. Companies are removing rainforests there with the government giving them permits or closing their eyes thanks to bribery. That's completely devastating. And when I tried to explain that to the people around me when I came back, I experienced two things that were equally difficult. The first one, it's very hard to convey what I really felt when people have not been there. And the second, it's very hard as well to control your own emotion. I get moved a lot. So here comes my question. When your mission and some of your projects you support with Plan A are so close to your heart, and you can easily move people and be moved as well, how much do you try to convey that, these feelings as a CEO? And in other words, how much do you pull on that emotional string, and how much should CEOs building projects like you are doing use or avoid that in their communication?
This is a really powerful question, and I'm honestly moved by your story because I can resonate a lot with it. I was actually in Indonesia, in Borneo, and the orangutans of Borneo are in the same setup as the ones you were speaking about, and they're basically together with the gibbons also facing a lot of challenges, and there's very few left of them because of deforestation, and the government is doing very little to protect the land. And I have so much respect for nature. I honestly I cannot think of anything else on this planet that I have so much love for and kind of deep wish to be aligned with. What I mean by this is that nature is so intelligent, it's so clever, and wildlife is a good representation of this. By the way, everything runs in a nice correlation with one another. And I think it's really important to speak about this and to communicate these perfections in a respectful manner. I focus on the facts. For me, what really matters is that I get people to do stuff. And when I say this, it's you can analyze all my LinkedIn posts. Every single post that I have is action driven. I don't have a single post that just says, an article or here is the latest thing. It's always about engaging people and getting people to learn about these topics. I would say that I don't play on the emotional part because I am super emotional myself, so things come naturally, unfortunately. I've had cases when I actually have cried on stage, and I've been in situations where I've been recorded on a podcast and it was just really close to tears. And it really cannot, honestly, when I was educating myself for the first 6 months of Plan A, I spent so much time literally crying, because until you have to digest all the stuff that we have done, all the negative impacts that we have on this planet and the disregard that we've had for so many years, it just is mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing to think of what the fashion industry has unfortunately built itself into being. It's really sad to see how the fossil industry has done. It's really sad to see how deeply embedded plastic is in our way of living. And these are things that now have become commodity. They're just part of our living, and we don't even think about them. And when I speak about this, I get always really passionate because I truly kind of am a bit disgusted by how it's possible for us to close our eyes for so long. So I don't use it as a way of selling to someone. When I do business, I do business. But if I have to tell someone a story, I would always tell the story of an animal. I would always tell the story of, someone that has gone through the journey of understanding for themselves what actually matters. And what actually matters is for us to understand that we're not managing this planet. We're not managing its resources. We're actually part of a whole ecosystem. Emotions come in play because you become powerless sometime. And you cannot manage yourself anymore because you're sad. But I always get back to the place of, where this planet start from, and, I can organize myself to stop crying, basically.
Okay. I have 3 small bonus questions that I would like to ask you. The first one would be, what's the best advice you've been given as an entrepreneur?
The best advice I've been given as an entrepreneur is you first. I think sometimes we end up in this vicious circle of analyzing competition and kind of, thinking of who's out there, how much money do they have. And what I think it's really important when I say this thing, you first, and how it has been presented to me so that it resonates with me a lot, is the idea that if you have a passion about something, start digging and focusing on this particular topic, because you, on the first place, are going to find people that are passionate as well, and then they can become your partners, your collaborators, your co-founders. As a second step, focus on, you first in terms of, the knowledge that you have. And then you can kind of understand what skill sets are missing on your team, what skill sets are missing in terms of partners. And the final you first kind of concept for me that has been really powerful is finding this possibility to look for solutions in terms of your own network, in terms of your own, knowledge space and knowledge domain, because we often forget when we're so deeply embedded into the journey of building a company, in actually having to build the stuff ourselves and also learning. But we know all people. We all know so many people with capacity, skills, knowledge, passion, influence that can be of help and can just, we just reach out to them. So you first has been really at the back of my mind a lot, making sure that I'm always aligned back to this passion that I have, making sure that I'm aligned to these people that I want to associate myself with, rather than focusing on the ones that I don't want to associate myself with because they don't have the same values. And obviously tapping into the skill sets that I myself have.
Oh, thank you very much. I never heard about this you first concept, so that's really helpful. What is your favorite interview question?
Yeah. I think people forget to ask about what it matters to be switching from just an idea to building a company, and how this shifted you as a person. I think all of us evolve on a daily basis and we become new, hopefully better people. And Plan A has changed my whole life, and I know that for some people probably their company is an item, or it's an entity, or it's a legal, virtual, non-tangible existence. But for me, Plan A is actually a living organism, and we were calling it a baby in the beginning with Nathan. And then we stopped because it was not applicable anymore. And I'm this is the question that I don't get to be asked a lot. And I love to say that I'm super grateful for Plan A to have kind of come as an idea in my life that now turned into something a lot bigger than me. Because it's a legacy. It's something that I can live and be lived kind of after me. It will stay and it will be there, hopefully, to spread good messages and make companies even more sustainable.
The very last question, then, and you already mentioned it before, so I'm happy to finish with that one. You said it was very hard for you to find a good work-life balance. So do you have a tip for entrepreneurs on how to have a better work-life balance?
So laugh. This is honestly, the most powerful thing that you can do with your day is just to laugh. If you watch videos, if you like to go outside and do a laughing yoga session, which does exist for those of you that don't know. If you want to do a meditation that is for happiness, just focus on being happy. I think, this is the one thing that has been able to help me. I stopped doing yoga for 1 year when I was the toughest times for Plan A, when we needed to get a lot of things off the ground. And I could feel it because my whole body was unhappy, and I was not feeling super energetic sometimes because, when you work until 3 a.m. And then you wake up at 7 on the next day to continue sitting on the same desk, and it just really doesn't work for anyone and and what has saved me through this time has been the fact that I've laughed a lot. I have the funniest team, everyone has a sense of humor on the Planet team. It really has been, now I'm lucky to have people in my life that make me so happy and just make me laugh a lot. And So for anyone that needs to find a balance, make sure you spend at least half an hour to 1 hour a day laughing.
Do you have do you have a way to find if people are funny in doing your interview process?
This is a funny one. Well, what I normally do is I have a lot of, I don't find it difficult to make fun of myself. And I think it's really important to know that there's limitations to your capacities. And, sometimes you can do something, sometimes you cannot. So what I normally do in interviews in terms of my immediate wish when I'm speaking to someone is to make them laugh. Nowadays, how we do the interviews is that we speak about COVID. This is unfortunately, I speak about the fact that, it would have been awesome if we could see ourselves 3D and this kind of silly things that you would say, but more kind of laughing about the fact that onboarding someone that is, only been in your team in a remote format is something funny. It's something that is really strange to us. We're not familiar to it. So how we've interviewed these people is that we made sure that within the first few minutes, they have to start laughing about something, to make sure that, and this is not about being funny. It's about having a positive alignment to reality. COVID is not something that is funny, but we have to make the most of this situation that we have. I've started cleaning my house quite often now, defining new types of activities that you normally don't have, and just finding the positivity in a situation that is really challenging. And also finding positivity when it comes to the interviews in climate change, because for us, it's about empowering people to be part of a journey that is a long-term commitment. It's not a one-off thing that you just get in and then, in 1 year it's going to be done. We need to clean up the mess that has been built in decades. So having this kind of mindset is super important to have on the team. So we always make sure that during the interview process, we get these people to laugh really quickly. If they don't do that, then maybe they're shy, they don't feel comfortable. We continue pushing and then it always works.
That's great. So, Lubomila, thank you so much for your time today and your invaluable tips and sharing your experience. I've learned a lot. I have nothing else to say except that to wish you all the best with Plan A. You have a fantastic mission. So if companies want to improve the sustainability, I can already think about a few ones that I will introduce to you. Retrace, for example, we're talking about the fashion industry. This is a fantastic company that is helping the fashion industry to be more transparent, and I'm working with as well. So I will connect them with you. And for anyone who wants to join you on your mission to be more sustainable and to make your company more sustainable, check Plan A. And thank you very much again for your time. And I wish you all the best and have a nice evening.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to chat to you. I really like your positive mission, and I hope more people start businesses because of your podcast.
Thank you very much, Lubomila. Have a nice evening. If you like this podcast, there are 2 things you can do that would mean the world to me. The first thing is to sign up for the podcast newsletter. That way you will be notified of the new episodes, but you will also get a summary of the learnings at the end of every season. Plus, for each episode, you will get the resources and the list of do's and don'ts that every guest shares with me. And finally, you will also get the opportunity to ask our future guests one question in advance. You can sign up for this newsletter on gtimpact.com. The second thing you can do to be super helpful is to recommend this podcast. For that, you can write a review on Apple Podcasts and share the podcast with your friends, other entrepreneurs, and people trying to build a sustainable future. That way, we can all learn together and work on a brighter future for us, our children, and our planet. Thank you very much, and see you next week for the next episode. Have a nice day.